The biggest challenge is always to improve resolution limits and to improve performance. That means that you have to go to the limits of what is possible and beyond. I'm Paul Urbach. I am the professor in optics, leader of the optics research group of Delft University of Technology. My task is to supervise the students, although the daily supervision is done by the scientists in the group. I have to sustain a lot of contacts that we have with both academic groups in Europe and Asia, and also with companies, mainly in Europe, with which we collaborate in research.
In this research lab, we want to study the properties that define the light behavior, and we want to control that in the best possible way. And we do that by means of this device called special light modulator that enables us to really control all the properties that characterize light. And here we can decide what kind of shape the light has in focus, and this is very interesting for medical, biological application and also for research purposes, of course. Biologists want to study the human cells, for example, but they need to stand still because they need to observe them, how they evolve. So you need something like a tweezer that keep the cells in that specific position. So you don't actually go there with the real tweezer, but use a light that shape in specific way that actually simulate the behavior of a tweezer. And for some particles it's important to have a stronger force, for some particles it's important to have a weaker force. You can tune it in the way that you want using this device here.
In this setup, what we try to do is to measure the concentration of molecules in human breath. Because, for example, when kids have asthma, they produce more nitric oxide. And if we can detect this increase, then we can diagnose asthma. So the way this setup works is we ask the kids to put their breath in a balloon like this, and then we put the sample breath inside the cavity through these tubes. The laser is sent to this cavity and it enters from a window on this side. It interacts thanks to a couple of mirrors which have in there, which reflect the light several times to get 50 meters of interaction in just half a meter of cell. The light comes out and then it's detected by this small detector. Because we have infrared light, some parts of the light are absorbed. And this absorption determines which molecules we have in our sample here.
So here in this lab we are using TUDelft waves. TUDelft waves are very similar to the visible lights, it's just that we don't see them. The advantages we have is that we can go through many different objects such as paper, cardboard, plastic or ceramic, which means we can investigate what is inside packages, doing non-destructive testing. It's also very safe compared to X-ray, for example, so for many applications we foresee that TUDelft can be a replacement to X-ray. We can use them indeed for paint layers, for example, to look at the thickness of paint and also see different type of layers of paint under others. And the final example that we give was about pharmaceutical products, where TUDelft, using spectroscopic information, was able to give us an information about the different composition of the same molecule.
This is the femtosecond laser pulse, where it will provide us with the very short and intense laser pulse. And you can see the pulse here, where it will go along this path and it will enter this chamber. Inside this chamber we have a crystal where it can generate terahertz. We then focus the terahertz in this part where we can put the sample. In this case we will put a sheet of paper as our sample. And from this part the result will go to the detection part where it will be detected, and with the help of the electronics you can see the terahertz pulse here in the display. From this terahertz pulse, we can extract information about the thickness of the paper, the fiber orientation, the moisture level of the paper. This technique can be applied in the online monitoring of the paper production.
It's one of the groups with the longest tradition in Delft University of Technology. I'm confident it will still exist in 20 years, possibly with the same name, because optics is a field that is still alive and is still going to be important in the future. I think it will be working on all kinds of new devices that we cannot envisage today, but it will be a lively environment, I'm sure.